Thanks again to everybody who has joined for today's webinar, TEKLYNX Central 6.0, Built for Better Connections. We are incredibly excited for this product launch to really top off our 2021 product launch as TEKLYNX Central combines all the best parts of those into one package. I am Nick Recht, and I will be your presenter today. My role at TEKLYNX is as the sales manager for all of the Americas. I've been with TEKLYNX for about 12 years. I'm one of the unique people who can truly say that I love my work. Every single day here at TEKLYNX, I get to help people use technology to solve business problems. I have a lot of fun doing it, and I actually knew I was going to be passionate about it as a young kid who was helping my mom and my aunt and a few other people deal with problems when we first got computers in our house where they were causing more problems than doing good. So I love my work and I'm happy I get to do it every day. And to tie into the theme of the 2021 product launch and the TEKLYNX Central 6 product launch is the fact that I really do enjoy building better connections in all aspects of my life. Not only with our software to more enterprise level databases and whatnot, but also with my clients, my coworkers, my friends, my families. It's something I am truly passionate about. So with that being said, I want to take care of a couple of housekeeping items before we dive into the content today. First and foremost, there will be a polling question in the presentation today. Please participate with your answer. It'll help guide me to what I need to show you within the presentation here. Please ask questions throughout the presentation. We have a moderator on the line who will answer the question via chat immediately, and I will address as many as I can in front of the live audience at the end of the presentation today. More than likely, the teaser demo we're going to give you today is going to leave you wanting more, and you'll be requesting a more personalized demonstration. So you can leave that in the question or in the survey at the end of the webinar that I'll remind you about a little later. And then as always, follow us on social media or take a look at our blog. Both of them are linked in the chat window. They are great ways to make sure you're getting all the latest and greatest information from TEKLYNX. So today we're going to talk about TEKLYNX Central 6. We're really going to start from the ground up, talk about our product suite and how it combines everything and how they're all built for better connections and how that kind of bleeds in to TEKLYNX Central 6. We're then going to verbally highlight and dig a little bit deeper into the new features of TEKLYNX Central 6. We are then going to do a teaser demonstration of TEKLYNX Central 6, where we highlight some of the new features in the 2021 products, really give you a sneak peek of some of the printing interfaces, not drill too deep though, because we always make sure to tailor those demonstrations for our specific customers' needs. And then we're going to end with a live Q&A session. So please get your questions in throughout the presentation, and we'll make sure to address as many of them as we possibly can at the end of the content today. So TEKLYNX Central 6, the theme that we're using for this launch is really a continuation of the theme for our 2021 label design products, as well as our other enterprise products that aren't TEKLYNX Central. And the theme is built for better connections. And really, if you think about it, whether it's connecting to an enterprise level database or making it so that one system's data connects to another business system, what do those connections mean throughout the supply chain? And the answer is everything. If you are connecting business systems, connecting users to those business systems, it really helps bring your organization, information, and people together for a better, more efficient supply chain. So before we dive into TEKLYNX Central specifically, I want to dive into kind of our entire product suite on a high level to lay the groundwork so things make a little more sense to anybody who's brand new out there. On the left-hand side of your screen, you'll see our label designers. Our label designers are Label Matrix, Label View, and CodeSoft. We're a company that early on in our history grew based on acquiring 3 of the largest label designers out there, which were Label Matrix, Label View, and CodeSoft. And since then, we have differentiated those products and targeted them based on label printing complexity needs. Label Matrix is our label designer that is meant for end users who have the most straightforward file, open, print, and pray procedures, I call them. Low volume of printers, maybe only printing a couple times a day, and a manual process to select your label and print is one that's just fine. Label View is our mid-level label designer geared towards our end users who might need to experience a little bit of printing efficiency in their process. It gives you the ability to connect to some databases. It gives you the ability to have a printing interface that's separate from the design interface, so you can simply click and print a label, or potentially design your own form or design some pretty intelligent formulas on a label to have smart interactions with that label design. CodeSoft is our most enterprise level label designer. It takes into account the most complex of database connections. It can integrate with RFID, scale, scanners, other input devices. You can encode complicated RFID scripting on a label, and you can take into account things like printing of documents, pick list, pack list, work orders, and it's really our entry point to our enterprise level solutions. On the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see our enterprise products highlighted. Our enterprise products are Sentinel, Label Archive, and TEKLYNX Central. Sentinel is our automation utility. Sentinel is our tool that allows you to automate printing out of absolutely any business system. It's also the tool that powers the printing out of the browser-based printing interfaces of TEKLYNX Central. So it's really a back-end utility that automates out of any business system, warehouse management, or ERP system you could imagine. Label Archive is our control and traceability tool. It allows you to store all your label templates in one central location, define user roles and permissions to access those in different capacities based on who you are. And then on the back end of it, lets you report on absolutely anything that has happened in the entire environment. Then TEKLYNX Central is our enterprise label management system, which is the reason we're here today, and it gets its own slide. So TEKLYNX Central combines all of the proven technology behind CodeSoft, Sentinel, and Label Archive, bundles it into one solution that adds to it the ability to publish many different browser-based printing interfaces for people within your organization or potentially your suppliers or manufacturers outside of your organization. It gives you all of the benefits of Label Archive with the complete document history and now activity logs. All the proven technology of Sentinel to allow you to manage to unlimited printers from a single server. All the proven technology of CodeSoft for complicated label design, while laying the groundwork to be scaled globally with the ability to publish these printing interfaces everywhere, not only from a browser, but also from a mobile device if necessary. So that's what TEKLYNX Central does in a nutshell. Let's take a minute to talk about some of the new things that TEKLYNX Central 6 does, so that we can lay the groundwork for our teaser demonstration of these features today. So the new features that we want to talk about today are the configuration audit within TEKLYNX Central, the enhancements to ClickPrint Web, our new single sign-on compatibility. taking our integration with Active Directory to a whole nother level, and then really highlight the fact that we have designed our tool for the ever-changing IT environment that is migrating to the cloud. So the first feature that we're going to talk about is the configuration audit. So Label Archive, one of the key components within TEKLYNX Central 6, stores a track and trace and a history of everything that has happened to your template. With TEKLYNX Central 6, we have introduced the configuration audit, meaning it is tracking and tracing not only the changes to your label templates, but also any administrative changes, whether you've turned on approval processes or turned off approval processes or changed the way the business logic in the printing interface works. That's all logged as well. That's a feature that was heavily demanded among our pharmaceutical and medical device companies, but is one that is certainly going to give other manufacturers peace of mind, knowing they'll know who made critical business changes to the label application. The second one is our enhancements to ClickPrint Web. So TEKLYNX Central publishes a business logic driven printing interface. That printing interface is one that is driven based on logic, right? A user enters a part number, a work order, whatever it may be, and that returns the template and the preview for them to be able to print. Well, we've had many clients saying, I don't necessarily need a logical or a business logic driven interaction with my printing interface. I want really just a preview of all my labels and let me click on one to print it. And that's what ClickPrint Web does for you. And the enhancements we made to it allow you to do this with labels within Label Archive or outside of Label Archive, as well as allow you to print labels to printers on the same network as the server, or leverage the local printing module, which is the tool that facilitates the printing for labels to be printed outside of your network. That ties in with the cloud-ready nature of TEKLYNX Central 6, because if you host it in the cloud, none of the printers in which you print to will be on the network. The next enhancement is single sign-on compatibility. So we have integrated with Active Directory for quite some time, but we have now made it so that not only are we linked up with Active Directory, but it caches that login in the browser, just like your other single sign-on technologies you might use. And we've also said you don't need to necessarily integrate with Active Directory. You can integrate with the Microsoft Azure version of single sign-on or any of the other ones out there that are widespread. It's something that was heavily demanded, and we're very excited to bring that to our user base. And then the last one is really the cloud-ready nature of TEKLYNX Central 6. We've had clients for ages deploy this in the Microsoft Azure or the Amazon cloud. But now we actually do that ourselves. We test against it. We have laid the groundwork to be able to host a server for our partners or our end users, or have our partners host it for the end users by testing and really modifying the software to allow for CodeSoft to be installed locally while checking labels in and out of your cloud-based server. So before we get into the live demonstration, I want to go ahead and launch our polling question for the day. So the polling question is going to help guide me to what I talk about more when we have the product on the screen here. But really what I want to understand before I get into the live demonstration is which TEKLYNX Central 6 feature are you most excited about? Based on your answers here today, I will spend the most time discussing that in the live demonstration. So we'll keep the poll open for about a minute, or until I get over 80 or 90% of the audience answering. But you have about 30 more seconds, so please participate with your answer. All right, we have about 15 more seconds, so please take the time to populate your answer here. Oh, we're already over 75% of the audience having voted, so I won't keep it open for too much longer. We'll give you 10 more seconds. All right, last chance. Thank you very much. I'm closing the poll. We'll go ahead and share those results. So it looks like the most popular, the popular thing people want to kind of see and hear about today is the cloud-ready nature. The second is the enhancements to the click print on the web. I'll make sure to focus in on the cloud-ready stuff and then talk deeply about the click print web enhancements while we're there. But like I said, we're keeping it as kind of a teaser demo so that we can tailor more personalized ones with our actual customers' labels and whatnot as we go through the sales process. But I will be certain to focus on them a little more when we do the demonstration here. So I'm going to go ahead and hide these results. And I am going to pivot over to our live demonstration. Okay, so as I take you through the TEKLYNX Central demonstration today, I'm going to be switching hats a few times. I'm going to start as a user whose responsibility is to design a label. I am then going to be that user's manager who needs to approve that label prior to it being allowed to be printed within a production capacity. I am then going to be the user who needs to print. Today, we're going to highlight printing out of the logical-driven or business logic-driven interface of TEKLYNX Central, as well as the ClickPrint web interface of TEKLYNX Central. We won't be highlighting the automation method of printing that happens directly out of your business system, but the same tools that are managing our website can automate printing out of the back end of your business system as well, which is a feature that is part of Sentinel, but Sentinel is part of TEKLYNX Central. And then we're going to wrap things up by looking through the history of the labels printed, as well as a history of the configurable audit trail. So a user who needs to design labels will design labels within CodeSoft. CodeSoft 2021 takes advantage of a lot of really cool features. One of them being our ability to link up with cloud accounts, like your Google Cloud or your Microsoft Cloud, to drive variable data onto the label from a Google Sheet or Excel Online. So you can see here in this example, this template is connected to a data source where if I change the part number, it changes all of the corresponding information on the label here. CodeSoft is familiar to many because we've kind of designed it to share a similar look and feel to other Microsoft Office style applications to ease with the adoption. And we pride ourselves on our ability to use our wizards. So if you need to create, for example, a barcode, you can run through the wizard that simply asks you what kind of barcode, what kind of data. If you need to do something a little more complicated, like create a GS1 barcode, we offer a wizard for that as well. So that's CodeSoft in a nutshell. It's definitely a key component of TEKLYNX Central, as you don't have labels to print if you don't design them. But that's not really what we're here for today. We're here today to talk about all the features of TEKLYNX Central 6. So what I'm going to do now is check this label in. When I go to check this label in, you'll notice that I have two options. I can put it into the system as a draft, or I can put it into the system in a state of inapproval. I am currently a user whose responsibility is to design labels, so I don't have the authority to say this label is final without my manager approving it. So I'm going to go ahead and check it into a state of inapproval. I can default it to a certain approval rule based on the folder I'm putting it in. But today, my approval rule that's available is simply one that says admin approval. From here, you'll see the label will leave CodeSoft. And if I go and I disconnect and reconnect to Label Archive, or simply check my list of available actions, it will let me know that I have a document, version 4, seeking approval here. From here, I can double click on it. I can take a look at the preview of the label in the current state it exists in. I can look at the history of this template, which was simply checked in and out by me a few times today. I can look at comments from previous actions in the case that this was an approval process that required multiple different people or multiple departments being involved. I can look at an attachment that's currently attached to it, like a spec sheet or an order for the label, or I can attach a document to this approval process in case I needed to print something and sign it. And then last but not least, I can approve it. You'll notice that when I approve it, I cannot deny it until I write a comment. And I also have the option here to say, I'm approving it, but it's not valid till tomorrow, or I'm approving it, but only for a couple of days. From here, when I go to approve it, you'll notice it's prompting me for my password. And after it's approved, I can now switch hats one more time to be a user whose responsibility is to print the label. So for this, we're going to leave CodeSoft and we're going to enter our first of two printing interfaces in which we're going to look at today. First and foremost, I want to highlight the single sign-on aspect of these printing interfaces. So you'll notice that when I log out of my one printing interface, it will also log me out of my ClickPrint interface because it's using single sign-on. If I'm logged in and I have access to all of the printing interfaces. If I'm logged out, I am logged out of all of them. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. After I log in, you'll notice that I can simply click Windows Login here, and it'll log me into my ClickPrint interface as well. But we'll start with our logic-driven interface. So the first interface available within TEKLYNX Central 6 is one that's driven based on business logic. When I say business logic, I'm talking about a workflow or a process that makes sense to somebody manufacturing or printing the items. So for example, today, I have it set up where I can type or scan into this box a product identification number, and this product identification number returns my template with the corresponding data on it. If you recall from CodeSoft, this template is driving variable data from a Google Sheet. If I change my part number, loads new template, new data for me. From here, I can expand the preview. I can either print or local print. Print means the print job comes from the server out to the printer on the network. Local print is the method that you'd used if this was deployed for your suppliers or contract manufacturers. I have this website configured to be the TEKLYNX Central branded colors with the TEKLYNX Central branded logo, but this whole interface is incredibly configurable, not only from like the color and the logo side of things, but also which buttons are available, which printers are available, as well as what values do you want me to type or scan in. Today, I'm typing in the product identification number. Many of our customers are typing or scanning in a work order or a proprietary number to whatever business process in which they're facilitating. Then from there, you simply print, and your print job is successfully sent to the server and out of your printer. So that's the logic-driven interface of TEKLYNX Central. One more thing I want to mention about this is that one instance of TEKLYNX Central has the ability to manage multiple instances of this business logic-driven interface. For example, we recently did a deployment where within the business, they wanted to type in a SKU to return labels. They wanted a second interface to type in an order number to return labels. And then they wanted a third interface for their suppliers and contract manufacturers that allowed for the same order process, but printed a different set of labels for their OEM manufactured products. All managed with one instance of TEKLYNX Central. The second interface I want to highlight today is ClickPrint Web. ClickPrint Web is very similar to our business logic driven interface of TEKLYNX Central, except ClickPrint Web simply shows us a list of labels, lets us load more. We can configure how many we want it to load by default. Today I have 4. From there, you can click print or local print. You can also narrow which option is available based on the website, so you don't have both, which might be confusing. From there, you make your selection. You can update the values. You can see here, value A is set to 100. If I change that to be set to 200 and refresh, I can now update my preview. My list of printers available are all of the printers that I have created within Windows or within the local printing plugin, which is the only utility that needs to be installed if you're a supplier or a contract manufacturer printing out of this interface. And then I simply print. It's really a straightforward interface that is meant to complement the business logic driven interface so that you can really support all of your labeling operations with one instance of TEKLYNX Central. So I hope that clears things up on the printing interface side. There is one more method of printing in which Sentinel can facilitate, and that is through our Sentinel application, which is facilitating the printing and the previewing on the back end of our websites, but it's also a tool that is widely used in very high volume environments to automate printing out of SAP, Oracle, JD Edwards, custom apps, other ERP systems, so on and so forth, as TEKLYNX Central can do it all at one time, one solution managing all of your different printing workflows within your business. The next thing I want to show, though, is our ability, which is our next new feature of TEKLYNX Central, which is the workflow or audit trail of configuration changes. So you can see here, we have a messaging system. We can create filters to filter for these messages, but you can see this one here is a particular message that lets us know about administrative changes to the system. So in this case, in preparation for this demonstration yesterday, I enabled the 3-state approval process so I could show off that approval workflow, and it logs that change here. So that, say somebody disabled an approval workflow and snuck a bad label through the approval process, you'd now be able to see that they modified those configuration settings for you. So that's a new feature and one that I just like to highlight because that often checks a box for people in heavily regulated industries, whether it's pharmaceuticals, medical devices, or hazardous chemicals or whatnot. Then the last thing I want to highlight in TEKLYNX Central before we jump back into the presentation is really our ability to log a history of everything that has happened to this template. So if I go back to Toys version 4 and look at the history here and expand it to the whole screen, you can see here that I have a history of everything that has happened to version 4 of this template. I can very quickly narrow this history to just show me print history, and then I can drill even deeper to see exactly what data printed on this label from my Google Sheet. This history is storing a copy of exactly what had printed. So if for some unfortunate reason, the integrity of the data that is appearing on the label is jeopardized, the history of what had printed at a given time will not be. This is great for multiple reasons, right? You can store a history of everything that has happened, but it lets us facilitate really cool stuff like reporting across all the print history, as well as the ability to generate reprints of exactly what had happened at a given time. Now, the last thing in TEKLYNX Central 6 that I want to talk about is really the cloud-ready nature of it. It spans through the entire application. So not only in the local printing that I talked about that's available in ClickPrint and the standard business logic driven interface to facilitate label printing where this could be hosted in the cloud, but printed to from anywhere in the world. But it's also part of what we've done with our ability to push the label designer out. Now you can push an install of CodeSoft out to a machine in which you're authorized to locally, while having the licensing and the storage of the label and potentially the data managed on that cloud AWS or Microsoft Azure server. We have also tested it in those cloud environments. So you can rest assured that if your business has gotten rid of the server closet and standardized on Azure or AWS, TEKLYNX Central can now play ball with it very nicely, reducing that infrastructure. For our partners out there, this gives you the opportunity to offer to your end users hosting services for their printing interfaces. And for our end users out there, the ability to say, I can have an enterprise level labeling system where the only infrastructure I need to manage are potentially my printers and the network drop lines for those devices. So we're really, really pumped to have that be something that we no longer say, yes, you can do it. It's something we say, yes, you should do it. We've tested the product and kind of built it for it. It's really all part of our theme of building it for better connections. So I'm gonna shift gears now and go back to our PowerPoint and share with you a couple of resources that are available. The resources available to you are a What's New fact sheet. This is available right now in the GoToMeeting handout section. You can download it. It's a handy tool that highlights the new features of TEKLYNX Central 6. We're always publishing new video content. So we have a TEKLYNX Central 6 video that discusses these features. We also have a wide variety of other video content available to you to help with stuff or to learn about how to use the system better. And then my favorite is our blog. Our blog has an awesome name. It is called The Human Readable. It is available via the link in the chat window. And I find obviously the content that we publish to be great, but my favorite are when we get a technology partner or a business partner involved. And there's quite a bit of that in the Human Readable. I believe the blog that's posted right now, or soon to be right now, is one about the TEKLYNX Central 6 product. So please take advantage of those resources as they are available to you. We are on to the Q&A session. So give me a moment to dig through the Q's so I can get you guys some A's here. Give me one moment to pop it open. And I need to make it a little bit bigger here. It's giving me a hard time grabbing the corner. All right, I got it. All right, first and foremost, how does an implementation of this type, or what does an implementation of this type typically involve? How long does it take? Great, that is an awesome question. So before I was the manager of sales, I was an engineer and the product manager who oversaw the engineers for several years. And I can say that the average implementation takes somewhere around 45 days. There's a little bit of pre-sales work before that to kind of discover how the system is going to be used and whatnot. But then from the point of issuing the purchase order, it's typically a week or two to get the software installed, situated, and then the rest of the time is taken doing kind of an approach where we help you design labels, show you how to publish them, and help you identify those business logic workflows and integrations. Now, I see that I have some of the customers who I've helped deploy it on the line today, and some of them have been up and running in less than a couple of weeks, or in some unique cases, less than a couple of days. And then we certainly have implementations where we come at it from like a plant by plant or a print process by print process basis, and those can take longer than the 30 to 45 day typical time frame. But that's kind of what you're in for with TEKLYNX Central. If I moved to TEKLYNX Central 6 from Label Matrix, do I need to recreate all my labels? That's another great question. So If you're coming from a TEKLYNX product, we have label converter tools available where you can convert those templates. The conversion process is very, very good nowadays. It does not require a redesign by any means, but very often when we deploy TEKLYNX Central, we take advantage of that as an opportunity to optimize those labels, whether it is taking hundreds of templates connected to that have no database connections to being 1 or 2 templates that drive variable data from a data source. So the conversion process is often very straightforward and seamless. The migration process to be a smart label is one that isn't often too challenging, but one that often takes up the time. How much does this cost? That's something that really depends on the volume of users you're going to have interacting with the system, but we're certainly not interested in selling people things that they're not going to get a return on their investment on in less than a couple of years. So if that's a question that you're curious about, I encourage you to let us know on the survey that you'd like to discuss further because you clearly see the value in it. All right, does the audit function allow you to search print jobs by user? So the audit function doesn't, but the label archive, the history reporting allows you to do that. And one of the things that we've made a lot better in the last couple versions was the ability to unencrypt all that history and let you report on it however you see fit. So we can certainly follow up with you to talk about that. Is there integration or functionality to print UPS, FedEx labels within the system, or do we need to use their respective portals? That is an awesome question. In my 12 years here at TEKLYNX, I have done several different integrations where we're printing shipping labels from, FedEx, UPS, DHL, different international shipping companies. And what I have found is that the easiest way to integrate with those systems is to get an export of the data and use it as variable data on the label. By no means do I want to sit here and claim that we are going to be the system you want to use to get your tracking number from UPS and get the quote and whatnot. You're going to want to use Pitney Bowes or Ship It or one of the various different applications that provide labeling. But often we can leverage the data created from that shipping application to drive the printing of that shipping label. All right, we got another question here. What is required to be installed on the browser of a PC or a client to do a local print? How do we overcome browser security, and do we need a thin client? That is an awesome question. So the only thing required on a client station to do the local printing, meaning printing to a printer that is outside of the network of the server, is a utility called the local print plugin. It's a very small utility. It runs as a service. And if you whitelist it in your antivirus, we can typically overcome the security modules there, and we can have our IT group provide a list of like ports that need to be open, and a lot of those are adjustable to be able to adhere to your business's security protocols. But it's really a small utility, not a thin client that you need to install. And if you're deploying TEKLYNX Central to be used within your 4 walls, one of the things that TEKLYNX Central 6 introduced, pardon me, was the ability to say, if you're not using local printing, you don't need to install that plugin anymore. So many of our clients won't even need to have the plugin installed. Am I restricted to certain printers? That is another really great question. So one of the things that TEKLYNX does is we make our own embedded printer drivers. We do it for nearly 4,000 different devices. Most of them thermal transfers, some of them a variety of color or inkjet or continual inkjet or some other engraving technologies out there. But that is not what we're limited to being able to print to. We can really print to any device that has a driver. You might just not be able to leverage our embedded driver. Great question. We should be certain to follow up with this person after the call. Can you integrate with SAP? The answer is yes. We can integrate with SAP in a wide variety of different ways, whether it is simply leveraging data from SAP or using SAP as the actual printing interface or writing data back to SAP after we printed a given order. We can do it all. And unlike some other companies out there, we are doing it in a generic fashion. So we can accommodate integration with SAP without being specific to a version and without having to charge a bazillion of SAP dollars or asking you to change SAP to be able to do that. Can my suppliers use my company's install of TEKLYNX Central to print? Absolutely. When you are incorporating your suppliers or your contract manufacturers within your printing process, you're simply paying for the usage of concurrency on that printing interface and allowing your suppliers or contract manufacturers to leverage it. All right, we have an example where we say 18 label matrix licenses to convert them. How much does it cost? So we have been known on many occasions to take implementations from label design products that have maintained an SMA or a subscription license and credit that towards a migration to TEKLYNX Central. It's really situational based on how long there's going to be overlap. But if that's something you want to discuss more, we certainly can. I see a question here from somebody I used to work with. Funny to see them here. If I upgrade from a previous version of Central, does the audit history work? That's a good question. So when you upgrade from a legacy version of TEKLYNX Central, you will see the history of the previous printed labels, but the only configuration audit changes will be from configuration audits after the upgrade. Does TEKLYNX Central only work with CodeSoft, or could it work with Label Matrix or Label View? It only works with CodeSoft, but we can move your Label Matrix and Label View templates into CodeSoft. And one of the steps we've taken over the years is to make it so that migration is easier, not only from the conversion standpoint, but from the standpoint of the interaction with the software. Does the local print service run on all browsers? Or can it client-side sequential printing? All right, so this is a question that's pretty in the weeds, but I'll address it on a high level, but we can certainly discuss it more after the presentation today. So with TEKLYNX Central 6, we work in Chrome, Edge, and Firefox. I believe we still have support for Internet Explorer while Microsoft is still providing support for it, but I believe they're retiring that at some point in the near future. So we provide support for those. And the local print plugin leverages our embedded drivers, so you can still take advantage of all the great things with like sequential printing and having barcodes print with like a serial number in a efficient manner. But it's based on these questions, I think we should really have a discussion about how you can leverage it. Can we be integrated with Infor Visual? So I have integrated with Infor a few times. Like I said, we always follow the generic method of integration. So depending on the backend database and where the data you want to appear on your label is stored, we can drive that variable data onto a label template from Infor. We can also have Infor export a record in a SQL table or a flat file like an XML or a CSV to automate printing directly out of Infor. All right, and I only see one more question as of right now, but we've had great engagement. I really appreciate that. Are you offering this product and Sentinel and Label Archive to Latin America? We certainly are. If we provide it through a bunch of our different partners down there, but with our enterprise products, we like to have a TEKLYNX representative engaged with our partner. So we can jot down your information or just let us know in the survey at the end of the presentation here that you'd like to be followed up with. And I will have Tanya, our Latin America partner manager, circle back with you. Ooh, we had another question pop up. So what is the licensing model? All right, so TEKLYNX Central is licensed based on, there's a fee for the software itself. Then it is licensed based on the amount of concurrent people you want to design labels. Even in our largest, most deployments, that's typically still less than 10 concurrent people designing and changing labels. Then it's licensed based on the amount of printers you'd like to print to and the amount of concurrent print users you would like to be logged into the system. In the case that you're exclusively leveraging local printing, meaning you're just gonna issue it to all your suppliers and contract manufacturers, then we license it simply based on the amount of concurrent print users, because we know some of those people might install 1, 2, 3, 5 different devices. And do we offer unlimited web server printing on a server license? So we'll never, I won't say never. I've been bit in the butt by saying never in the past, but we likely wouldn't offer unlimited licensing. We do something, we'd call it something like virtually unlimited. We'd say, all right, we'll limit it based on like 1,000 concurrent users and 2,000 devices. And then if you do hit something greater than that, we discuss it from there. But so I'd say it's kind of the yes, no answer. I try to avoid giving those, but we'd be able to find a way if you needed it to be something more on the unlimited side. Great. So that is the last question. If anybody else wants to pop one in, I will certainly address it live. Otherwise, anything we didn't address live, we'll circle back with you, but I think we did get them all. So with that, I want to wrap it up by saying thank you very, very much for attending today. We really appreciate you, our partners and our current end users and our potential new end users taking the time to look at what we have, as we've invested a lot of time based on your feedback on it. So thank you. There is a link here. If you just go to teklynx.com/TEKLYNX Central 6, you can request a demo. I am asking you a personal favor to let us know how we did on the survey and let us know if you would like to be followed up with after the fact. We have a team here who's ready to give you a call here either this week or early next week to discuss how TEKLYNX Central 6 can help you. So also follow us on social media, or really just give us a ring. We answer every single phone call live, so we are ready and willing and available to help you.